Hey everybody, today I'm going to review the Knipex Pliers Wrench. Now what I have is a 10-inch model with comfort grips, and basically this is a good all-around size for what I'm going to be using it for. But what makes these stand apart from a standard pair of pliers is they don't have a center pivot bolt. And with a standard pair of pliers, when you open them up, the end of the jaws is going to actually open up much wider than the part of the jaws that's closest to the center. But what Knipex has done with this is they actually have a spring-loaded hinge pin, and what this is going to do is allow camming action. So you can slide it up and down, it's fully adjustable, and when you lock it into a position that's going to work for you, you can actually watch the jaws open and shut, and they're going to open and shut evenly. So you can watch these, and no matter what you're gripping on, it's going to have the same amount of force on the rear as it does on the middle or on the very front of it. You're not going to round off bolts like you would with a standard pair of pliers or even an adjustable wrench. You know, typically you'll tighten those down by hand, and then when you put any pressure on it, they're actually going to loosen up a little bit. But these, as you squeeze them, it's going to put a lot of force onto whatever you're working on, and it's not going to let go. Now, another unique feature about them is that the jaws themselves are absolutely smooth. So there's no serrations there to dig into plastics or brass or chrome fittings, and you're not going to damage anything nearly as easily as you would with a standard pair of pliers. To demonstrate the ratcheting action of the Knipex Pliers Wrench, I'm going to tighten down this bolt that mounts the vise to the workbench. And you can see with just using a standard wrench, you can put it on the bolt, turn it, but then when it hits something, you're going to have to automatically remove that, put it back on, turn it again, and this is a lot of movement that is very unnecessary. But if you use the Knipex Pliers Wrench, because it does have that ratcheting action built in there, you can just clamp down on it, turn it, and then you'll just slightly release the pressure on the handle. It will rotate into the next position on the fastener, and then you can continue to tighten or loosen as needed. It really speeds things up when you're doing repetitive work, and you're not constantly having to remove the tool and then place it back on the fastener. Because the jaws are machined perfectly flat and it actually opens and closes in parallel, then it's putting very even pressure across the entire surface. So that will allow us to tighten up things such as this brass fitting, and when we do, we can squeeze as tight as you want, tighten it up, and it's not going to cause any damage to the surface of the fastener itself. So there's no indentations on here because there's no teeth to dig in. Now, in that same comparison, if we use a standard pair of pliers, and we just decided to tighten it up with those, what will end up happening is it's actually going to damage the fastener. So here's a closer view of those teeth marks that the regular pair of pliers with the serrated jaws left. And when we used the Knipex Pliers Wrench, because that was a perfectly smooth surface, it caused no damage at all. And here's another one that I pulled off of a gas fireplace. And you can see that even though it is still functional, the surface of it is very marred up and scarred just because they used the wrong tools before. They used either a pipe wrench or a pair of pliers to tighten this up, and now it has deep gouges in the surface because brass is a very soft material. Now, if you're a welder, fabricator, HVAC technician, then you work with sheet metal every single day. And the problem with that is, let's say you dropped this piece and you bent the corner in or made a ripple along the edge, it would basically be unusable. So what I'm going to do is actually place this, you can see it's nice and flat, I'm going to place this on a railroad anvil, then I'm going to take a large brass hammer and bend the corners in. You know, that alone would make this unusable, but what I'll do is go ahead and make a few more bends. And then what I'll do is show you basically how easy it is to fix this with a pair of the Knipex Pliers wrenches. Simply because those jaws are perfectly smooth and perfectly flat, and they close exactly evenly in parallel. So what we'll do is place the currently messed up piece of sheet metal in there, squeeze it, and then what it's going to do is straighten that metal back out because that pressure is very even all the way across. And you can see if we just place that bent sheet metal in there and squeeze the handle, it's going to straighten everything back out. It's not going to leave any indentations because there's no teeth on the jaws themselves. And now we're able to take that previously ruined piece of sheet metal and make it usable again very quickly and very easily. One big advantage that the Knipex Pliers Wrench has over a standard adjustable wrench is the fact that once you set the width of the jaw opening, there's no more adjustments needed later. And what I mean by that is the fact that with a standard adjustable wrench, you can place that on a fastener, and then you have to tighten the thumb wheel down, turn it, and then when you want to remove it, you either have to loosen that thumb wheel back up or you have to wiggle it off the fastener. And when you want to place it on the next position, typically you have to loosen that thumb wheel back up, place it on there, and then twist it tight again. So that's a lot of additional work on your hand and your thumb to make this work correctly. But with the Knipex Pliers Wrench, you'll just place that on the fastener, squeeze the handles tight, rotate it, and then just slightly loosen your grip. It will rotate to the next position because of that ratcheting action, and you can continue to tighten it with no additional adjustments needed. So now you can see the advantages that the Knipex Pliers Wrench has over a standard pair of pliers or even an adjustable wrench. Because there's no teeth on the jaws themselves, it's not going to dig in and mar or damage the surface of anything you're working on. And because you can tighten it down fully, it's not going to loosen up like an adjustable wrench and round off the corners. Now another problem that mechanics run into is when you don't know what size you actually need, or you're maybe working on a new vehicle, typically you're going to have to grab 2 or 3 wrenches to make sure you get the right size. But if it's not something extremely tight, you can use the Knipex Pliers Wrench and then just adjust it as needed. So it will replace a whole range of actual wrenches, and you'll be able to get the job done with just one tool. If you like this video, please click like. If you like my channel, please click subscribe. And thanks for watching.